Hello, I'm Sarah King. Thank you for joining me in this presentation. This is a recording of a presentation that I gave live at Maxline Brewing in Fort Collins, Colorado in January of 2023. When I was promoting this event, there was a lot of interest in basically how can you have fun with your dog instead of walking in the cold, both from around the country and even from around the world. And so I thought I would record this presentation and put it on YouTube and on my Facebook page to introduce myself, introduce my company, Brennan Behavior, and also to talk a bit more about concept training, as well as giving options about what you can do instead of walking your dog. So the way that this presentation works is that first of all, I'll talk a bit about me, about my background, the research that I've done, and how I became a dog trainer and why I use concept training. And then I'll describe concept training, why I like it so much, I think it's fantastic, and basically what it means. And then I'll talk about why walk your dog. And I think it's pretty mind-blowing to a lot of us that we're taught you must walk your dog twice a day, but really you don't always have to, and there are other things that you can do instead. And so then I'll show some games that you can play with your dog instead of taking them for walks, and basically you can have fun with your dog while watching this video. And the way that it worked when I actually gave the presentation live was that I demonstrated some games with my dog, and then I had videos of some other games. In this presentation, I'm just going to show the videos, and then for the demo sections, I'm just going to talk through the different games. But ultimately, these games will probably be posted on my Facebook page or on my YouTube channel, so please check back to try and find videos of these games. Or contact me and I can tell you many more games as well. And then as a thank you for people who have sat through this presentation, or even if you just click through to the end, there'll be a 10% off coupon code that's valid until the 19th of April 2023. So I have always been fascinated with animals. I've always been interested in their behavior and how they thought and how they interacted. And so although now I live in Colorado and I've been here for 13 years at this point, I grew up on the south coast of England. And so my parents knew I was so obsessed with animals, and so when I was 6 years old I got a rabbit, and I spent a lot of time with my rabbit in his run on the lawn. And then we had a family dog for a while, and then when I was 14 I got my own puppy, who was Brennan. And he was a Springer Spaniel, and he was full of life. He was a lot of fun, this dog. He was a great dog. But yeah, I grew up by the beach, and he was obsessed with seagulls. All he wanted to be doing was chasing birds. And we used to, when I used to walk him on the beach, it's like if you want to find Brennan, you find the horizon, and there he is, just deaf and blind to everything except for chasing seagulls. And so, yeah, so I trained him in the methods that were available then, which was often choke chains. And then it was really nice when Halties became available, because that was a lot kinder. And so I did a lot of obedience training and that kind of training with him, and learnt a lot about it. And then I was really happy when positive reinforcement training became more widespread, and then began learning about that with him as well. And so, as someone who is animal obsessed, I went to university and got a zoology degree. And I knew that I wanted to spend my life working with animals. That's all I've ever wanted to do. But I was also really interested in research and in really finding out more about how animals thought and behaved. And I really wanted to work with wolves. And so I volunteered at a sanctuary in Portugal. And then I was also lucky enough to get an internship with the Red Wolf program in North Carolina. And so this picture is of me with a Red Wolf hybrid puppy. And then Brennan was with me through all of this. So yeah, I got him when I was 14, and then he died when I was 31. And so all through my university career. And so I didn't end up working with wolves, but I did do my doctoral thesis on Przewalski's horses, which are these fluffy beasts in Mongolia. And then I subsequently worked at another Przewalski's horse reintroduction site as well. And while in between running conservation programs and working with small mammals, looking at behavior and ecology of small mammals, I then ended up in Colorado, where for about the last 10 years I've been conducting research in the behaviour and ecology of feral horses and donkeys in the American West. And so for this, I've been based at Colorado State University and working in collaboration with USGS. But now I'm taking part of my time also to train dogs. But with my wild horse research, I was very lucky to be accompanied for a lot of it by my dog Bodin. And so he was a dog I got in Colorado, and he was a rescue Springer Spaniel. And so being a rescue, he had certain anxiety issues and was a bit reactive towards other dogs. So I did a lot of positive reinforcement training with him. We worked through a lot of the Control Unleashed work and Click to Calm and all of those kind of things. And he was a really good dog and just wanted to be close to me. And unlike Brennan, he had no prey drive at all. He just wanted to be with me. And unfortunately, right at the beginning of the pandemic in April of 2020, he was diagnosed with a brain tumour and died very quickly thereafter. And really the last 6 months of a year with him were really hard. It was really, difficult with the issues caused by the brain tumour. And so when he died, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm not going to get another dog. That's fine. I'll take a break. But within 2 weeks, I was like, I have to have a dog. I have to get a puppy. And so, being the pandemic, I could get a puppy because I was working from home instead of traveling. And so I got Buffy. And so she was another Springer Spaniel, and my gosh, did she have energy. And so I had a list of things that I was going to do while the puppy slept, and she just didn't. She did not stop. And so we went to puppy classes. I met with various trainers, one who said that she was a lot of dog, which was a bit, wasn't quite sure what to make of that. And then did various training with her, and obviously a lot of the positive reinforcement training, but I was kind of still hadn't quite found what worked for us until I saw a Facebook ad for the Sexier Than a Squirrel Challenge. And this is organized by Absolute Dogs, and it's an online course, and it's 25 games over 25 days, and it releases a game a day. And it basically was a fantastic introduction to concept training. And it basically really helped provide a lot of these skills that I'd really been searching for with Buffy, about how to really promote her being in close proximity to me, and also how to help reinforce the calm. And so I loved it so much. I did many other courses with Absolute Dogs. And then in 2021, I took their Pro Dog Trainer course, which is a 10-week online course, which not only teaches me more about concept training and all of the theory behind it, but also teaches me how to teach it to other people. And so it was really at that point I became a dog trainer. And then following the 10-week Pro Dog Trainer course, I did the 10-week online Pro Dog Trainer Geek course, which is a deep dive in dog behavior and dog learning theory. And that was just fascinating. And so I'm continuing my education both with Absolute Dogs courses and also courses through other organizations. And so I still really love Absolute Dogs. So what is concept training? And so really you can think of your personality as being made up of building blocks, and each of those building blocks is a different concept. And another way of thinking of it is your strengths and weaknesses. So for instance, in Buffy, the concept that she's really weak on is a calmness, whereas her strength is really good at engaging with things, whether it's with me or unfortunately also with my cat or a squirrel. And concept training really helps your dog develop skills to boost those strengths through games. And so you can really focus on developing skills so that your dog can express behaviors in all sorts of different environments. And ultimately, I love concept training because it really focuses on the question of what do you want your dog to do. So I think it's very easy when our dogs are being, when we're having struggles with our dogs, to think what we don't want them to do. We don't want them counter surfing. We don't want them jumping on visitors. We don't want them pulling on their leash. But instead, if you can think, what do you want your dog to do? Then you can focus on building up the skills for the dog to do those things instead, which can be very powerful. And concept training also focuses on training for the situation rather than in the situation, So for instance, if your dog is crazily scared of blue cars, then some training might be just that whenever you see a blue car, you give your dog lots of treats. Whereas concept training would really focus on, well, what is it about blue cars that is causing your dog to have this reaction? Is it the movement of the blue cars? And then we would focus on games that help your dog think when they're aroused by movement. Or is it novelty? And then we could work on confidence and optimism in your dog. And we could do all of this just in the comfort of your living room instead of in the street waiting for a blue car to pass. And ultimately what concept training does is it's providing your dog with tools, with the skills to make the right choice every time without you having to tell your dog to do it. It means that instead of constantly having to be telling your dog what to do, they are choosing to do that. So I really love concept training because it's powerful in that it really teaches your dog to make the right choice. It's kind because it's positive reinforcement based. It's fun because it's games based. You just get to play games with your dog, and it can be really quite transformative because it just changes your dog's brain and the whole approach to life. So these are some examples of concepts, and there's several more concepts. And so they're things like tolerance of frustration, like how does your dog cope when they can't get something they want? Or focus, can your dog concentrate on what you're asking of them? And there's many of these concepts. And then there's games that can be targeted specifically to boost these concepts in your dog, to give them the skills related to these concepts. And the bonus of the games is that there are many games which focus on more than one concept at once. So they're really helpful. And so one concept that I work on a lot with my dog is calmness. And really, rest and calm are super undervalued as training tools. Calmness, I can't overstate how important calmness is for our dogs. When a dog is calm, they can regulate their emotions, which means that they can think and they can, instead of just reacting to things. And also if a dog is calm, they're not afraid. A dog that's calm can't be anxious, it can't be overexcited, which means it can't be fearful. So calmness is something that it's always worth reinforcing in your dog. Even if you think your dog is quite calm, while you're watching this presentation, every time your dog is just lying down next to you being calm, put a treat, put a piece of food right next to your dog. And then this, as long as we keep reinforcing the choices that our dogs make when they're doing what we want them to do, then they'll continue doing that. So this is something I do a lot with Buffy. Whenever she's calm, I just gently reinforce that calm. So why wouldn't you walk your dog? So a lot of us get dogs because we want to take them for walks. I live in Colorado. There's so many fabulous places that I can go for hikes. So up in the mountains, out on the plains, or by lakes. But and walks are really important. It's really important for your dog's mental enrichment and physical fitness. And walking your dog is also really important for our mental health and for our physical fitness. So they're really good things to do. We want to be able to take our dogs for walks. But there are also some reasons why you wouldn't take your dog for a walk. So in Colorado we had a big snowstorm this week, and it's not really fun for us or for the dog to go out in a blizzard, probably unless you have a husky. And also bad health might be a reason not to go for a walk. Last year, within 6 months, I had both COVID and pneumonia. And so I was very glad for these games that I could do without me having to expend much energy, but which helped tire out my dog. And also, you wouldn't want to take your dog for a walk if your dog is reactive. If you have a dog that barks and lunges when it's on leash when it sees other dogs, or if you have a dog that's really fearful and just stops moving on walks. And basically, if 5 out of 10 walks that you take your dog on are a complete nightmare, then you might want to rethink taking your dog for a walk and really focus on building up the skills that your dog needs in your living room before you even go out of your front door. And another reason that you might not take your dog for a walk is that its bucket might be full. So this is an analogy similar to trigger stacking. But basically, if you think that every morning your dog wakes up with a bucket, and different stresses can play into this bucket. And so these can be good stresses, happy stresses, like playing a good game of tug, or playing with a friendly dog. But they can also be bad stresses, like things that your dog finds a bit scary, like loud traffic, or if there's fireworks, or a car backfires. And ultimately, your dog can cope with things until they reach the threshold and their bucket just overflows. And so an example of this might be that, as in the picture, they might see a dog that worries them when they're out on a walk, and then you might take them to an agility or an obedience class, and then they might see a strange person might come, and then something loud might happen, and then finally a visitor comes, and that's just too much, and then the dog is over threshold. They can no longer think, they're only reacting and just jumping all over your visitor. And so in this instance, it's like if you knew that the visitor was coming at the end of the day, you might have taken the choice not to take your dog for a walk at the beginning of the day, or your dog may not need a walk at the end, because the walk will also be filling into your dog's bucket. And also, if your dog's bucket is already full when you go on the walk, then again, your dog, things that your dog can normally ignore, like seeing another dog on the other side of the street, or something scary happening, that normally your dog could just pass off. When the bucket overflows, your dog will just react. So what would you do instead of walking your dog? So unfortunately, we don't currently have virtual reality that we can just have our dog running around our living room, which is also maybe a good thing, because instead we get to play games with our dog. And games are just great because they grow skills in your dog. So teaching it, growing it in the direction that we want them to grow. Playing games tires your dog's brain because they have to think about what they're doing, and the games even might tire their bodies a bit. And playing games with your dog ultimately just boosts your relationship. Our dogs want to be interacting with us. They want to be having fun with us. So anytime you play a game with your dog is just really helping that relationship. So I showed a bunch of concepts before, and in the rest of this presentation, I'm just going to focus on these three concepts of proximity, confidence and optimism, and disengagement and engagement. And for each of these concepts, I'm going to show two games. And so when I'm describing a game, you could then pause the video after that and play that game with your dog. And then for the videos, you can watch the video and then come back to it. And as I said, I'll be posting more videos over time on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel, so just keep your eye on those. So proximity games are super valuable. I think we all want a dog that just sticks by us and that just follows us around, or that at least comes really easily on walks. And so a lot of people have said to me, like, oh yeah, my dog has a lot of proximity, it's right by me in the house. But yet when they take their dog out on a walk, the dog is just off, just chasing things. And so proximity games really help your dog want to be close to you, to come back to you, and to just regularly check in with you on walks, even without you asking them to. And because basically when you play proximity games, you're putting a lot of value in you, and you're also showing that you can be as unpredictable and fun as the environment is. So it really makes your dog want to be by you without you constantly having to call them or constantly having to tell them to be at heel. So the first game I'm going to go through is the nose touch. And so the nose touch is basically how you teach your dog to target your hand, how to poke your hand with its nose. So for this game, you'll need some foods, either some treats, or I just use my dog's daily kibble. And then you'll put a piece of food you sort of wedge it between your thumb and your finger, or between your fingers here, whatever works in your hand. And then you present your hand to your dog, and then your dog will put its nose in to get that bit of food. And when it touches your hand with its nose to get the food, then you mark, either you say yes, or you if you have a clicker, you give a click, and your dog gets the food. And then you repeat this about 5 times, and then your dog is like, aha, okay, I just get food from the hand. But then the 6th time you present an empty hand, and then when your dog touches its nose to your hand, you say yes, and then you have a party and you throw food away, or place a bit of food that your dog can get. And that resets the dog, and then you present your hand, and then the dog comes back, and then when it touches its nose again, you can throw a bit of food out. And so you can make this game quite dynamic and exciting. Or for an older dog, you can just place food or put food in its mouth just to reward it. But this game, basically the dog will keep pinging back to touch your hand. And as they're learning the game, you'll want to like periodically still put food in your hand just to show the dog, yep, this is exactly what I want you to be doing. But then once your dog really is understanding it, is reliably touching your hand with its nose whenever you present your hand, then you can start adding in a verbal cue. And so dogs love this game. They pick up on it really quickly. They really like poking things with their noses. So dogs learn this game really fast. So then the next game I'm going to show you is a video of orientation game. And this is a fabulous game. I play this with my dog all the time, both off leash and on leash. And it's just a really great game just to get your dog reorienting back to you and just pinging back to you after you toss a treat. And so, yeah, I'll play the video. And so the way this game works is that you need to have some food available, and so just take a handful of food. And then, so with older dogs or puppies, or dogs that generally don't see very well, you might want to start quite slowly and just place the piece of food so it's really obvious to the dog where the food is. And then as soon as the dog looks up at you and reorients to you, you mark with a yes or a click, and then you either place or throw down another piece of food. And so Buffy, this is my dog Buffy in the video, she tends to move quite fast, and so she really likes making this a fast game. And so then I'm like tossing out a piece of food, and then she has to go and get it. And then every time she looks at me, then I say yes and throw out another piece of food. And so you can make the game quite animated, that you can sort of start running in the different directions. You can throw treats behind you occasionally, really make it unpredictable for the dog about which direction the food is going to go. And so that's what's a fun thing to do on a walk, is that, so even when the dog is on leash, and then especially if she's got a bit, we're just chugging along, and then just to make it fun and exciting, I'll throw a piece of food ahead, throw a piece of food behind, and then it really helps her engage back with me. So then the next concept that we're going to talk about is confidence and optimism. And so these games really help your dog to be confident when they're encountering something new, and deciding novel things are good and fun. And so Buffy is a dog. She's full of energy. She's a very exuberant dog, but she's sometimes lacking a bit in confidence, and especially with novel things. And so dogs' perception of the world is a bit different to ours. So what we may think is like, oh, well, it's just an umbrella. But to a dog, it's an object that went from being slim suddenly to being wide. And that can be really quite startling. And also things that we know that we just bought a bag in from the car and left it in the living room. But to a dog, they suddenly come, there's suddenly a new object in the living room. And especially when their bucket is full, then they might react to it. So playing these confidence and optimism games can really help dogs just be really chill when there's something new in the environment. So the first of these games I'm just going to describe, and so this game is Go Commando, and this is where you teach your dog to go under your legs or your arms, and basically to come between you and an object, whether it's a chair or the ground. And so although a lot of us like cuddling with our dogs, and we're used to having our dogs close to us, this can still be something that's quite challenging to our dogs. They don't know that they have permission to sort of be that close to us or go like squirm under our legs. And so this game gives them a bit of confidence in that they can do this thing that maybe they're not sure about, and then everything is okay at the end. And so the way that this game works is that basically you have like food in both of your hands, and then you put a piece of food by your dog's nose, and then basically lure them, and you can lure them under your legs and through your legs. And you can make this easier or harder depending on the dog. So if you have a big dog, you might want to sit on a chair and then have it come between your legs and the chair. If you have a small dog, you could sit on the ground and then have it go like under your knees. And basically if your dog finds this hard, then give them a lot of room to go between your legs, and as the dog gets more confident, you can make that gap smaller and smaller until they really have to commando crawl through it. So then the next game is 2 paws on or 2 paws up, And this game is training your dog to put its front paws on an object. And this is really valuable, that if your dog is interacting with an object, then it's not going to be so afraid of it. And it's teaching your dog that, yeah, it's okay to interact with new things and explore them, and then you can you can stand on it, and it's all safe and good, and you get rewarded for it. And ultimately, this game can also be used for stationing your dog. You can do 2 paws up on anything, on a park bench, on a log, on a rock, and it really gets the dog just engaging with its environment, and so not being afraid of it. So for this game, you need a solid box or a block. You want something that won't slide on the floor, that won't wobble. I gave this presentation at a brewery, and I was looking for something that my dog hadn't interacted with before to show this game, and I found I had this mini keg in my garage. So that's what I'm showing. So at first I'm rewarding Buffy for just any interaction with the object. She's never seen this before, and so just any exploration of it at first, and then I'm sort of waiting until she puts a paw near it. And so then as soon as she touches it with a paw, so she's thinking, do you want me to rest my chin on it? And so I've got a clicker, and that's what I'm using to mark with, but you can also use a yes. And there she touched it with her foot, so I clicked and then sent it, threw out a treat. And then she's like, oh, I see. She's like, you sure not my chin? And then she touched it with her paw, so I'm throwing a treat out. And so you want to throw a treat away, partly to reward the dog, but also that's resetting the dog. They go away to get the treat, and then they have to come back to interact with the object. So there she put a paw on, so I clicked and treated, and I missed that one, but then she's thinking about it, but then she tries again with her paw just a little bit, and I click and reward that one, and again. And so she was beginning to get the idea. So I've sped the video up a bit here, just that she kept on, she would put a paw on and I would reinforce that, and in between I would just sort of wait her out for her to offer her paw. And then finally she put 2 paws on, which is what I wanted, so then I feed to her mouth to show that's right, and she knocked it over, and so she was a bit alarmed by that, but not too much, because then she went back and offered it again, and I just stabilized it with my foot. And then she's thinking about it, and so I just reset her with a piece of food, and while I also restocked, and again this is just her kibble. This is and so then I stabilized it with my foot. She came straight back, put her paws on, so then I'm feeding to be like, yeah, this is exactly what I want. And then I'm telling her how clever she is, and then I send her away so that we can reset. And so again she has to think about it, like, are you sure you don't want me to rest my chin on this? Which was really interesting. And then, yeah, this keg hadn't been opened yet. I was a bit afraid she was going to open the keg, but she chose to stand on it instead. And so then just feeding to her mouth, saying this is the right thing to do. And so she actually does have 2 paws on cue, and I could have done that from the beginning, but I wanted to show the whole process. So this time I just cued her onto it and fed to her mouth. And then, and then this is a great game because you can do it on all sorts of objects. So I can have her like to put paws up on the sofa, I can have her put paws up on the chair, and so you can make this a really dynamic game, like moving the dog, putting its paws up all around your living room. So this is, this is a super fun game. And so now I got to find where I was in the video. And so then the next concept that we're going to go through is disengagement and engagement. And these games are really great to help your dog decide to leave that squirrel alone or not jump on the visitor, and instead to engage with you and see what fun things they can do with you instead. So these are the games that would have been really useful with Brennan to teach him that he can disengage from seagulls on the beach and engage with me instead and just chase a tennis ball instead. And so these games are super powerful for dogs that really like chasing things, the high energy dogs, but really for any dogs that will just get stuck on things and they can't disengage from them, and teach them that, yep, they can leave those things alone and they can come and see what you're doing instead. So the first game I'm going to show for this is Toy Switch. And so this game is teaching your dog that, yeah, sure, they can be really engaging with something, but then they can disengage with that and engage with something else instead. And something fun still happens. The game still continues. And so for this game, you need 2 toys that are of the same value. So I have two Tug Enough tugs. But it's interesting playing this game. Often your dog will tell you which thing has the most value. And even two toys that we think are identical, our dog might actually have a preference for. And so then that is what the dog will find it harder to disengage from. So you start the game by getting the dog really going in a good game of tug. And then, and there she just saw the other one and switched to it. But then you play it by you make one toy go dead, and then you animate the other toy so they go for that one instead. And then you play, and then you can make that toy go dead, so you make it really boring. And then you animate the other toy, and so they go for that instead. And so this is a really great game, and then you do this a few times, and then once the dog is beginning to understand the pattern, you can throw a word in like switch, so that all I had to say was switch, and she went straight for the other toy. I like to put the toy I'm not playing with behind my back, so it's really obvious to the dog which toy I want it to play with. And then soon you can not have to animate the toy so much, and you can just use the word switch. And this is a super fun game. It's a great game for teaching the basics of retrieve, and teaching your dog to let go of something from its mouth. And and normally I do this standing up and with a lot more energy, and so it's a super fun game. And then the final game that I have to talk about is Paint the Town Red. And this is a great game for keeping your dog engaging with you and following your hand, and just to stay close with you. And so this is a really valuable game. So if you've seen something that you don't want your dog to be worried about, so another dog passing, or you see a squirrel up a tree, and so then you can just play this game, and it keeps your dog just really focused in on you. And so the way this game works is you have a handful of treats in both hands, or just in one hand, and then basically you put your hand in front of the dog's nose, and then you might want to practice first of just slowly releasing treats from your hand without losing all of them to your dog. And then you just sweep your hand back and forth, and then you just periodically release treats from your hand, giving them to the dog. And so your dog's nose will follow your hand, and so that means its whole body will follow your hand. And so some dogs, Buffy is very, very motivated for the food, and so her nose will just stay close to my hand, and so I don't have to release many treats. Other dogs that might be a bit move a bit slower, or just not quite so not understand the game quite so well, you might need to give more treats more quickly. And this game, you can also make it really high arousal by moving your hand really quite fast and making the turns really sharp, or you can make it a calmer game to calm the dog down by moving your hand slowly and making the turns really, really broad. And so this is a great game both for bringing your dog's arousal up and arousal down, and also for getting the dog really engaged with you and not engaged with the environment. So that's 6 games. So do you want to know more ways to have fun with your dog? And if you do, get in touch with me. And so my website is brennanbehavior.com, where I have all of my services and a lot more information about me. And you can access it through this QR code, which will be again on a later slide. And so at the moment, I offer a variety of packages. I'm located in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I offer in-home training for people within a 10-mile radius of Old Town Fort Collins. But if you're outside that, if you're elsewhere in the country or elsewhere in the world, I also offer training by Zoom. These days, I think we've all got pretty used to Zoom, and there's many things that it's good for, including even dog training, because I can just talk you through how to play these games, and all that we need is a webcam, and or even just recording your dog and sending me videos, and we can do this all over Zoom. So the packages I offer, I have a behavior transformation package, which basically starts with a 60 to 90 minute session where I'll take a history of your dog and we'll talk through the different struggles. And then I will design a package focusing on the 3 main concepts that will help your dog and your behavior struggles. And then I'll give you games for each of these concepts, and we'll go through those on another 3 to 4 sessions. I have a puppy package, which is, so that's just 45-minute sessions about every 2 weeks over about 8 weeks. And just as the puppy progresses, and I have a lot of ebooks and resources I can give, also to just help help you work with your puppy and through all of the fun times that puppies bring, because yeah, they're very cute, they're a lot of fun, they're a lot of work as well. And then once your puppy has gone through its puppyhood and become a teenager, then that brings its own problems. So the largest age class of dogs that gets relinquished to shelters are teenagers, because they stop being cute puppies, they've grown, they've maybe got a lot bigger, got a lot more energetic, and also they have all of the problems that human teenagers have with lack of impulse control, and everything feels like everything we've taught them has gone out the window. So in this package, so it's 4 sessions of about an hour each, and then that really focuses on games to shape the brain of your dog in the direction that we want them to grow. And I also offer a rescue dog package. Rescue dogs often come with a lot of baggage, a lot of problems. They've often had kind of a rough start in life, and so they're often really lacking in confidence and optimism, and might have other reactivity issues. So this package, again, I have a lot of ebooks and other resources I can provide to help you with your rescue dog. And this package is focused on the main like key points of they say 3 days, 3 weeks, and 3 months. And so it's a session a week for 3 weeks, and then monthly for 3 months, to really help your rescue dog settle in. And then I also have the online courses on my website. So obviously I have the Sexier Than a Squirrel challenge, because I think it's just a terrific foundation and simply a lot of fun to play with your dog. And then I also have the 2 Absolute Dogs mini courses, which are just a 7-day course, so the Stop Barking and Stop Pulling. And so these are really great courses to sort of introduce you to how you can start addressing these issues. And obviously, if you have any questions while you're doing any of these online courses, which are all super affordable, then you're welcome to contact me. And if you want to take a deeper dive, then you can book a package in home or by Zoom. So the special offer for having sat through all of this presentation is 10% off any package on my website. And so this coupon code will be valid until the 19th of April 2023. The coupon code can be used once per customer, but it's valid for any package on my website. So yeah, thank you for watching this presentation. Please like and follow me on Facebook page. And so this presentation, maybe that's where you found this presentation, and I'll be regularly posting videos to my Facebook page. And on my website, brennanbehavior.com, you can find various packages that I offer and online courses. And also please contact me if you're in the United Kingdom, because I have I help you pay in pounds. And then I also on my website you can find more about horse behavior and the research that I do, and I also offer horse behavior consultations, because concept training works just as well with horses. I'm using it with my Mustang as it does with dogs. And so again, thank you very much for watching this presentation, and I look forward to being in touch. Thank you.